Armor is the most important thing you'll build in Minecraft. The right armor is the difference between living forever and meeting an untimely end. And after you've been roughing it in garbage iron armor, nothing will make a Minecraft player feel more invincible and look more fashionable than slapping on a full set of diamond armor. Woven into the fabric of this game since it first launched in 2011, diamonds have stood the test of time as Minecraft's most coveted resource. Yes, I know about netherite, but we'll get to that later. Plus, diamonds are a lot prettier. Besides, no matter how many playthroughs you've done, how many enormous structures you've built, how many enemies you've killed, breaking through some rock and finding that beautiful diamond ore smiling back at you is an extremely rewarding feeling. And one lucky morning, I was fortunate enough to experience that feeling when, just a couple blocks into a new tunnel, I found my first diamonds! I was mildly excited about it. Diamonds! 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 Yeah! It always feels good to get some diamonds. With those diamonds, I made my first diamond pickaxe, which allowed me to mine up obsidian. Obsidian was an extremely important part of my grand plan to kill the Ender Dragon, so this was a big deal. Of course, I was very careful throughout the entire process, holding down the crouch button like my real life depended on it, and pouring water over any exposed lava as I went, since drowning in lava would have been quite a depressing way for this playthrough to end. The thing is, though, mining obsidian kind of takes forever without an enchanted pickaxe. So I only mined up what I needed to make myself an enchanting table and start using magic to solve all my problems. It did take 2 of my precious diamonds to make, but having an enchanting table is a great way to set myself up for success surviving in this cruel world. Eager to find more diamonds, I was right back in the mines the next morning, tearing through pickaxes like they were tissue paper. Now, you may be wondering why I wasn't immediately mining up the good stuff, like this gold ore, right when I uncovered it. I learned this technique years ago, and I've been using it ever since. The idea is to mine every block around a vein of ore so it's left floating in the air, which exposes several more blocks around the vein in the process. Apparently, this increases the chance that more ore will appear in your immediate vicinity. The YouTube tutorial I watched 6 years ago explained the science behind this technique and why the game is programmed this way, but they got into a lot of numbers, and numbers are boring, so I just skipped to the end. Besides, as long as I was increasing my chances of finding more good stuff, I didn't need to know the exact science. Things were going quite swimmingly in the mines until I ran across this naturally formed cave that, by the sounds of it, was home to a few zombies and skeletons. So, I did what any brave warrior would do: block the entrance, frantically mine up the nearby coal, retreat through another tunnel I had made, and block that entrance too. Yep, just like any brave warrior would do. All that time mining started to pay off though. A few minutes later, I found more diamonds! 6 of them! Those diamonds also happened to be underneath the skeleton spawner I found back in episode 2. Man, one day I need to actually get good at this game so I can convert this into a skeleton farmer and get unlimited arrows and bones. And, continuing my streak of good luck, I found even more diamonds a couple of minutes after that. At this point, I was carrying 10 diamonds, whose worth was greater than that of the Shire, so I decided to quit while I was ahead. Up in my storage room, I realized I was quickly amassing a metric ton of redstone I didn't know how to use, so I converted it into blocks, which I'll use eventually for something. After that, I did some farming, bred some cows, and made more bone meal. Then I hopped on Unnamed Horse and took some of my harvest down to the villagers to see what goods they had on the market. And as always, I took the liberty of harvesting their crops for them. While I was mining up some coal near the village, I found a zombie spawner. This is great! I quickly slapped a torch on top of it to stop zombies from spawning on it and mentally registered its location, before remembering that I'm recording everything I'm doing and I can just go back and watch the footage. The loot was pretty good. A golden apple, a bucket, and some iron horse armor are never bad to get, but the most important thing was having access to both a zombie spawner and skeleton spawner nearby. After a full night of farming, iron smelting, and inventory management, I decided to go check on the other village to see how I could help them. And I noticed the place seemed quieter than the other village. There were only like 3 villagers here, and I could have sworn there were a lot more when I discovered this place. My best guess is they'd been turned into zombies because they didn't have a heroic iron golem protecting them. Or maybe they kept falling into gigantic holes in the earth, like our feline friend here. As it turns out, the villagers and their security team had just been falling into gigantic holes in the earth, and even though I had lots of other important stuff to do, I decided to be a nice person and help them out. Unfortunately, the iron golem didn't make it out. No one saw what happened to him. And to prevent any future stupidity, I did patch that hole. Later that night, in the safety of my compound, I carried out a truly sinister process that I would, unfortunately, have to repeat several times. Feeding wheat to cows so they would breed, and murdering all the adults right in front of the babies. They took it pretty well. If it makes you feel better, I was so torn up by my actions that I just stood on top of my wall, staring out into the night, thinking about what I'd done. Those noble cows gave their lives for these 2 bookshelves, and unfortunately, many more cows would have to make the ultimate sacrifice for me to complete this enchanting table setup. But I think I speak for everyone when I say it's totally worth it. As it turns out, I'm a very hard worker, and I stayed up all night without realizing it. Still riding that high of actively fighting sleep, I spent some time doing pest control on my property before getting my day started. Down in village number 2, where that iron golem mysteriously disappeared, I ran into that merchant from the beginning of Aladdin, looked at a bunch of his garbage that I didn't want to buy, and then found the real reason I went down there in the first place. This fine steed. He tried really hard not to become friends. Like, really, 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 really hard. But eventually, I made him like me, and we rode off into the sunset together. We even bonded by vandalizing the local crops. Classic prank! Now ride like the wind, donkey! Giddy up! Yaw! Believe it or not, the reason I wanted to tame this guy had nothing to do with his incredible top speed. Donkeys are useful in Minecraft because you can place a chest on them, which gives them their own inventory. This is super helpful for when you're exploring and want a little more wiggle room with the stuff you're collecting, or you're wanting to transport larger amounts of items somewhere. So until I got my hands on some more effective means of storage, this donkey was going to be my best friend. But once I had some better options, that would be the end of that friendship. Sorry, donkey. After lots of bartering and shrewd business deals around the village, I was able to convince this armorer to sell me a pair of diamond boots with feather falling 2 for 15 emeralds. As you can imagine, I was pretty excited. But I wasn't just excited about the diamond armor itself. I was excited about the armor's enchantment, feather falling. Feather falling is the opposite of Bane of Arthropods. It's probably my favorite enchantment in the whole game, besides Depth Strider, which is another enchantment for boots. Feather falling reduces the amount of damage you take from falling, which makes general traveling and minecrafting a lot safer, since accidentally falling from a high point is a very easy way to end your life in a hardcore playthrough. So I was excited to get a little more peace of mind. Plus, diamond armor is never a bad thing. I had a lot of junk left over from my shopping spree, and while I know this will pain some of you to watch, I just didn't have anywhere to put all these extra shields and iron boots. So I tossed them on the ground where they would float in this corner until they despawn. Don't worry though, I put them in a spot that I don't look at very often, so I wouldn't have to think about it and you wouldn't have to see it. Having just finished all my littering for the day, I turned my attention to my wall. It never hurts to keep fortifying your home base in hardcore Minecraft, so I decided to add some stone wall pieces to the top of my wall to give myself a little more protection. The spider I found on my property only strengthened my resolve. To break up the work, I decided to take a short break to show my donkey how to properly jump out of the compound. Turns out, it takes him a while to catch on to stuff. By that point, I'd built up a pretty decent number of experience points, so I decided to try enchanting my diamond pickaxe, even though the whole setup wasn't done yet. But I got really lucky, and was able to add efficiency 4 and unbreaking 3 to my pickaxe, which means I could cut through rocks a lot faster and for a lot longer than before, which is always welcome in a game largely based on mining rocks underground. With my shiny new kicks and digging utensil, I was feeling pretty good. You can never get too comfortable in hardcore Minecraft. Even with diamond armor and tools, there were still plenty of ways I could die. But I'd finally gotten a little more confident about venturing outside the safety of my compound for more than a few minutes. At this point, I'd spent pretty much all my time hiding away on the top of my mountain gathering my strength. But with a little more protection and a pack mule to carry all my stuff, it was time to do some exploring. I was ready for a little adventure.